Welcome to this remastered version of a 2015 series called Dja Dja Wurrung Radio. This series was made possible by a community grant from the Mount Alexander Shire Council. Created for MAINfm to be aired as short 5 to 10 minute segments to highlight and celebrate local Indigenous culture past and present. The series was shortlisted for the 2016 Reconciliation Victoria Hart Awards. For ease of listening, we've edited them together into 30 to 40 minute episodes and have linked episodes by theme rather than representing the order that they were originally broadcast in. So every time you hear the didgeridoo, you'll know it's the beginning or the end of an episode. We hope you enjoy it.
You're listening to a glimpse into the history and culture of the Dja Dja Wurrung people.
Presented by Uncle Rick Nelson and Ali Hanley. Today we've got Alvan Briggs with us, and he is a local didgeridoo player. How do you guys know each other?
Rick's known my dad and auntie.
Yeah, I used to work with Alvan's auntie. But I met him when he moved here.
Yeah, and whereabouts are you from?
I've moved around a little bit. I've spent some time in New South Wales. I grew up in Melbourne and I recently moved from Shepparton.
Yeah, cool. And when did you start playing didgeridoo?
Ever since I can remember, really. It's just always been in the family, and I really started getting into it around 10, 11.
Yeah,
for
cool.
School and stuff, performances too.
So who showed, was it like your dad or your uncle or someone who showed you how to play?
Yeah, can't really say anybody showed me in particular. Nah. But it's just, I just loved it and wanted to keep going at it. So
yeah, great.
Yeah.
And I understand it's something that is something only men are really allowed to play.
Yeah, that is a bit of that's an old rule, yeah.
Yeah, cool. And one of the things that you need to be able to do to play the didge is learn circular breathing.
Yep.
Can you explain what that is and how long it took you to figure that out?
Well, that's so you can breathe out of your mouth into the didge and breathing in through your nose at the same time. And I practiced that a lot with just the straw in a drink and try to keep the bubbles going.
Yeah, right. And did it take a while to get it right?
Yeah, but I just kept at it constantly for a few weeks and picked it up pretty easy, really.
So what you sort of do is build up that extra thing of air in your mouth and you blow it out when you're taking a breath through your nose.
So you sort of hold it in your mouth while you're breathing through your nose.
Yeah, that's a good way to start practicing is to, But as you get better, it sort of just flows a bit better too, but...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you ever get dizzy from playing for a long time?
Yeah, after a while it can get pretty dizzy.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah.
So do you know how didgeridoos are made?
Yeah, for termites. Just termites.
Termites and old, well, they don't have to be old even, and just termites getting into trees and eating out the trees.
So when you see a didge, is it usually the trunk of a youngish tree, or is it a branch?
I think it's usually a branch, eh?
Yeah, well, it depends on the trees too. Like, we use more of the mallee tree. That's sort of like perfect for didges down this way anyway.
So it's got to be kind of a hardwood.
Yeah, well, it depends. Different areas have different trees, so you'll get different sounds.
Yeah, right.
Different trees will give off a different vibration through the timber.
Yeah, wow.
And they tune them now, have them in tune length, tuned to A and C and all that.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. And one thing I've noticed at the mouth of the didge where you're blowing in, there's a wax seal. What does that do?
Oh, that's just for because the hole might be a little bit too big on some didges. Some turn out they're good size, but if it's a little bit too big, you just give a bit of wax on the top to help seal it around your lips.
So you can't let air in. Your mouth has got to kind of seal the top of it to...
Yeah. Keep your lips, vibrating, I guess.
Yeah. Cool. And we've got some examples of you playing the didge. I know you can do some special effects and sound effects through it. Can you explain some of them?
Yeah, well, you can get different tones and stuff through the way you hold your tongue and
purse your lips and tighten your lips, and
you can deepen the sound and with your with your breath and stuff.
Do you use your voice through as well? Yeah.
Yeah, you can get them the familiar kookaburra sound and stuff. Yeah.
So how many animals do you mimic? Lots of different animals?
No, I've never really done it professionally. I've just had it at home and always played it. So
it sounds amazing when you play.
Yeah,
it's got that really.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the different timbers, some can just turn out real bassy, and different didges, different sounds too. But a lot of good didges seem to come from Queensland. That the timbers up there are
pretty good for
perfect. Yeah.
I reckon the timbers in Victoria are awesome.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
That was Alvan Briggs having a chat to Rick and I about playing the didgeridoo. Last week we heard from Montana, who is one of the students from the meeting place, and this week we're going to hear from Montana's mum, Sarah Moore. How long have you been in Castlemaine town?
I've moved back about 2 years ago, but been here on and off for over 10 years.
Your daughter Montana and your son Zeppelin both go to the meeting place once a fortnight. What's your family heritage? What's your background, and how are you linked to Indigenous culture?
Okay. It's from my dad's side. So my great-grandfather, I think, was part of the stolen generation. And, that's about it.
So do you actually know where they're from?
No, we don't know. No, we've got the last of the information that can be handed in so we can find it out. But both my father's parents were dead by the time he was about 13, 14. And so he had a little sister. She went to foster care, and then he went and lived with his 16-year-old brother. And they had no cousins, no aunties, no uncles, because you don't know. You have no extended family where you know where you're from. So basically, now my father was killed in a motorbike accident, and the rest of our uncles and aunties are all dead, so there's just there's no one left. There's one brother and one auntie, and that's the only thing I have to my dad's family.
Wow.
So,
and where are they? Are they close by?
They're in Melbourne.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's the tragedy of that whole period of time, is that so many families were broken up and people don't know where they've come from,
you
and
don't.
you don't know who your family is.
It's really hard as well, losing my dad and then losing so many other people from my dad's side. Not having anyone that you can be close to and feel a connection to the ones that have passed on. Mm-hmm. That's what makes it the hardest. That you can't have any sort of connection at all.
Mm-hmm.
And it's you don't belong in one world, but then you don't know where you're from in another, and it's pretty
But you've been sort of adopted by the local Indigenous community here. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
The Nelsons, Rick's been very open, and I know his dad was very open and welcoming to lots of people as well.
Yeah, Rick's really good. He sort of got me on a little apprenticeship on learning all the local knowledge and stuff. So, he's really good.
Yeah, great. Yeah. And so I also hear that you enjoy doing some rapping.
Yeah.
Where did you first start doing that? How old were you?
When I was a teenager. So, I guess losing so many loved ones, rapping music was an outlet to sort of, help you get through the pain and the anger and all the different stuff. So without music, I don't think I would have survived the things I have over the years.
Yeah. So where have you rapped and who have you rapped with, and what's the culture like?
The Australian hip hop, it's like a small family. It's it's changed a lot these days. There's a lot more sort of coming in, and you get a lot more coming in and trying to be a bit more Americanized. But the old school Aussie hip hop, started back about 20 years ago or whatever, and it was. I don't know, it's a place where everyone sort of, you know, you can come from all different walks of life, or, you know, especially down in Melbourne, there's different gangs, different, you know, groups and crews and stuff. But when you're there, like in a room, you know, that's all forgotten about, and you're only there for the music, you know. And it's sort of, we always used to like open a gig and used to say, if you want any beef, go to the butcher's, you know, because we're all just here to have a good time. So it's good like that. And like with it, I like Australian hip hop. I like a lot because it's not so much like the American gangster rap and whatever, where they, you know, they sort of rap about the same sort of things. You know, in Australian hip hop, you get a lot like rapping about society and the younger generations and the changes that we want, politics, religion, you know, that sort of stuff. So I like, you know, that it can be a bit more real.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Not just about fast cars and shiny bling.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah.
And have you done any lately?
No, I still write, but haven't been doing any gigs. Haven't sort of done anything. Need to get in the studio and start recording a bit, but cool. It's, you know, it's changed a lot here. Like in Castlemaine, there used to be a lot more hip hop and different things going on. It's sort of, it's not a bigger group, you know, into it these days. I think they have a lot more, you know, going on over in Bendigo, if anything.
Yeah, sure.
So, yeah.
Yeah, cool. Can you give us a little sample?
I'm just saying how it is. I'm not trying to be mean. On myself, I depend on myself. I can lean. I can pay my own bills. I can run my own home. I can get through the night when I'm feeling all alone. You're not worth my freedom or my independence. You can't buy my love with money. I got too much common sense. I cry on my own shoulder and I got my own back. I'm a fighter. I'm a soldier. Inner strength I don't lack. Insecure pride is the only thing you pack. And you know it deep down. What I'm stating is a fact. Time is precious. Love is short. Love makes the world go round. But as long as I got babes that night, I sleep sound. I'm not dumb, I know your thoughts, what's running through your mind, that you think that it's a waste when I'm such a deadly find. But that's the thing, I'm unique, I guess I'm one of a kind. I've chose to be a mum and leave the bull all behind. Because peeps are needy, writing solo blows their mind. I own my heart and it's whole, ain't some other man's half. Ain't about to give it out, please, you make me laugh.
That was Sarah Moore rapping for us and telling us a little bit about her life. In 2015, Continuing Ed ran an Indigenous food cooking course, which also involved a little bit of gardening. I went along on their last day to have a chat to some of the teachers and the students.
My name's Lisa Musket. I'm the gardening guru. So I'm one to show people how to do seedlings and cuttings and the root systems and stuff like that.
So what sort of plants have we got here in this garden?
We've got Murnon, we've got some pig face, we have old man's weed.
So have you built these garden beds specifically for these plants?
Yep, they don't need much water, so it's got to be very, very dry, because a lot of these plants do live out in the bushes and stuff, so they don't need much water. So you got to have them very, very, very dry. Not much maintaining. So,
it's my kind of plant.
Yep. Just needs little bits of water.
Talk to me about the Murnong. I know that's a familiar name around here.
The Murnong has a lot of, we can actually eat the root system. So inside the plant you don't get much at the top, but down the bottom you get a lot of root system in there, and there's a nice big chunky beet that you can cut up, put in salads and stuff like that. But very good to eat, very good for you.
And this is a food that people locally here have been eating for forever.
Oh, for genuine years, and not many people know about it. So it's actually good to get people to know what they can actually eat in the bush.
So how would you recognise a Murnong if you're walking in the bush? How would you find one?
You look at this by the stems of the flower. It's not much. It's only like little pebbles of a thing, and then you look up, see a big stem, and then you have a look, a little yellow flower comes out.
That's great. So tell us about pig face. I've got that in my garden. It's a kind of a succulent.
It is like a succulent. They don't need much water either. They grow wild. You can actually eat that. And actually in the leaves, if you actually pull it out, there's a lot of water in it. So if you're ever in the wild and you need to have a drink and you've got no water, find pig face, because you can get a lot of dew out of that, and when they flower they have a little bulb on it, and it's actually salted, so you can actually eat them and cook them and eat them as well.
So eat the salty seed pod.
Yeah, they eat the seed pod, yeah.
Can I ask you some questions about you? How did you find out about so many of these plants?
Well, I like flower plants, so I've through tips through other people, through learning and asking things from old people and stuff like that. That's how I learnt to do seedlings and grow plants, and that's how I learnt for asking people and, getting advices and stuff. And you've got to try and you learn. Give it a go, and if it doesn't work, well, that's not going to bloody work then, will you?
Jacinta, you've been doing this course for a couple of months now. What's your favourite plant that you've learnt about?
Well, the pig face, I was involved in planting that, and I just like the way it can sort of grow over the edges and become very beautiful, so I like that. A lot of them, it's interesting because people will think that nothing's happening here because they actually totally die off on their above ground, so that's why we sort of put information here so people can know that there is something growing here even though there's no evidence of it. So I think that's really interesting because I find that at home, like different times a year you find things and they're not there at other times a year.
What else have you learnt doing this course?
Some interesting things about local Jara culture that Julie and the others have shared with us, so that's been really interesting, just hanging out with people and talking to people. That's one of the best things, one of the best ways to learn.
That was Lisa Musket telling us about some of the plants that she has taught about in the Indigenous food course that was run at Continuing Ed in 2015. And then we also heard from Jacinta Walsh, who was commenting on her experiences within the course. In 2015, Continuing Ed ran an Indigenous cooking course where students learnt about Indigenous plants. They planted some of the plants and they also cooked with them. On the last day of the course, I went along as everyone was preparing for a big feast, so you can hear some of the kitchen noises in the background as I speak to one of the students, Janet. Did you know anything about Indigenous plants and cooking before you joined this class?
I know a bit about cooking, so I've got a bit of a food background, but I didn't know anything about Indigenous plants. So everybody around here seems to think the Murnongs, like this fantastic staple food, and we learnt that it actually wasn't. It was of course a staple, but it wasn't the staple. So we've learnt that it's a seasonal thing. So when it flowers in the springtime, that's when Indigenous people traditionally ate it. But all year round, they actually eat the bulbine lily, pike lily. Yeah, so I've got one sitting at home, which is great. So I've been watching it all through. So we've been doing this course for 10 weeks. So it started in the spring, and so we've been able to watch the plants, those underneath plants, underground plants as Julie calls them, watch what happens to them. So, and we've planted the garden just outside the Continuing Ed kitchen. So yeah, we'll see what happens over the summer, and then we'll be able to come back and watch what happens in the springtime again, hopefully.
And in terms of the cooking side of things, what have you been learning to cook with?
Yeah, well, we've been using lots of Indigenous, I guess you'd call them spices, I think spices is the best word for them. Things that I'd never tasted. That's the exciting thing about it, is about tasting things that you've never tasted before. And so, apart from what we ate, like straight out of the ground, which was really interesting in and of itself, there's also what we've been cooking with has been things like aniseed myrtle, lemon myrtle, a lot of people know about. We've been eating lots of saltbush, which is really salty, and it made my I kept tasting it, going, that's tasty. And then by the time I got home, it felt like I'd eaten a bucket of popcorn. It was like so salty. I didn't realise because it was just subtle. Anyway, what we're eating today is we've got quandong and strawberry muffins, and we've been eating rye berries, which is another one. So we've used, in the cooking stuff, we've used stuff from all over Australia, and then some particular things we've just been sampling because there's not a lot of it that's made commercially, from here. So it's only the stuff that we can grow in the garden, which such as the saltbush. So it's just good to add to things, the flavours. And the aniseed myrtle, like I said, I mean, it's got this amazing aniseed flavour. So there's lots of different things, but they're from all over Australia, not necessarily just from here. So the things that we can eat from here, we've planted.
So do you think you'll incorporate some of these foods into your cooking now, from now on?
Definitely, and what it's done is it's really inspired me to actually look for recipes for things that can grow here, such as warrigal greens, which a lot of people know about, but it grows really well around here. The other things that I've been learning about is wattle seeds. So wattle seeds is something, we'll have a wattle seed coffee in a minute. So obviously there's lots of wattles around here, silver and black wattles, and the silver wattles are in seed now, so they've got their pods. So I'm about to harvest some locally and from my garden. And apparently Wurralda seeds, I heard yesterday, are actually, they're really good too. So you roast them so they get this beautiful nutty flavour, and then you can either eat them just like that or grind them, and that's what we'll use for the coffee. So they're ready to harvest now, so yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
That was Janet, one of the students of the Indigenous cooking course that Continuing Ed ran in Castlemaine in 2015.
You're listening to a glimpse into the history and culture of the Dja Dja Wurrung people.
Presented by Uncle Rick Nelson and Ali Hanley.